Thursday. All right, we're gonna go for it. This is Scotty. Hey, baby girl. I hope that you guys are having a fantastic week. It has been great for me to dive back into this study, and let me tell you, when I went through this study in November by myself, walking through it to pray over it to see if I could learn what I was supposed to learn and apply it to my life, and honestly I was chewing on whether I was going to use this book for our next Live Slow Bible study, and this very chapter solidified it for me. I had reservations about doing this book as a group, because there's so much meaty content, theological truths in there that I think I could dive into. But this chapter about being under orders is what flipped me upside down and clicked with me so much. I thought, I have got to talk to this topic. I have got to tell these women in the Live Slow Bible study exactly what it means to live under orders upon God. It's literally like a soldier and his sergeant under orders. You just show up, you don't ask questions, and you do what you're required to do to take action. And so as we're talking about discipline, I shared with you guys at the very beginning what this study is not. It's not a self-help book. It's not fluffy. It's not soft. It's not elementary. But she breaks it down very well as she explains that Christian discipline means placing oneself under orders. It is not mere business of self-improvement to be listed along the lines of speed reading, Weight Watchers, jogging, time management, home repairs, and how to win friends. Such programs have strong appeal and is largely self-serving. What's in it for me? How will it help me? My looks, my IQ, my build, my efficiency, my house, and my bank account. Will I be liked better, courted, taken more seriously, promoted? So all of those things, like as we are pursuing discipline in our lives to be obedient to God, it's not discipline in our lives to be self-seeking. It's not discipline in our lives so we can achieve more, so we can be more successful, so we can look better. That's not the discipline that I'm talking about when we're talking about obedience. I'm talking about discipline to be under orders of what God has for you. We talked yesterday about being obedient, knowing how you're called. You're called when you have that inclination, when you have the conviction and you take action, because it's God that empowers you to take action. That's something according to his path. You in and of yourself, you do not have the righteousness, like we don't have the goodness inside of our hearts. We were created, we are sinners at birth, okay? This little girl right here in my arm, she is a sinner, and it's so sad because she's only 2 weeks old, but she was born into sin, and so her nature, her born tendencies will be to sin. So when we choose God over sin, that means God's calling us to himself. That's how we know that we are in God's kingdom, okay? That's how we know that we are of God's children, is when we choose that to follow God's will, to follow God's plan and be disciplined. And so when it's talking about being under orders, it's like this. She shares it on the page 24. Any soldier, any candidate for Christian discipline ought to daily report for his commanding to his commanding officer for duty. Okay, God is our commanding officer. So what would you do today if you're supposed to wake up and show up for duty? What did God want you to do today? What does God want you to do today? And we need to make sure that we're not approaching Christianity or our daily walk like this. Okay, she shares these quotes on page 25 that I really thought were I really felt like these 4 mindsets broke it down very well. And these are lies. These are red flags. If you have this mindset, this is a red flag. Yes, I want to be a Christian, but no, I don't want to be your disciple, Lord. Not yet anyway. It's a bit too much to expect. If you have that attitude, if you're like, yes, I want to be a Christian, but I don't want to be a disciple yet. I don't want to give my life over to you yet. No, a second mindset, that's a red flag, that's toxic, that we need to make sure we prune it out, is yes, I'll be a disciple, but no, I certainly don't want to leave myself behind, because I like to self-satisfy. I like fame, I like prestige, I like money, I like greed. All of those things in and of themselves are not bad, but if we worship those things over God, if we're not willing to surrender those things, if we're not willing to lay those things down at the cross and say, God, but you handle this temptation, like you handle it, you smother my pride and let me know that I'm here for you and your orders. Like my life is based on what you want me to do, not what I want to do, not what Laura Mendenhall wants to achieve, but what God has for me and the plans he set out even before I was born. Okay? One of my favorite verses that I prayed over my kids is that before you were born, I set you apart. Like before you were born, God knew you, God created you, God has a plan for you, and we are supposed to surrender our plans and ask for him to fill that gap and for us to submit to his plans. Does that make sense? I'm using my hands way too much here. Anyways, the third thing that we need to make sure we're not thinking, and if we are, this is just some self-evaluation. I'll leave self behind if you say, Lord, but don't ask me to take up my crosses. I'm not sure I'd be comfortable with that. Like, I'll follow you, Lord, but don't ask me to sacrifice anything. I'll follow you, Lord, but don't ask me to give up anything that is satisfying to me. That's not good, okay? Because that's still holding on to self when we're not willing to surrender every area of our life to God in order to please him. The fourth is follow you, Lord. Well, yes, sure, but let me have a little input, won't you? Where are you going? Like, where do you want me to go? Negative. No, don't sit there and say, well, God, upon these conditions, as long as it doesn't mean me becoming a missionary, as long as it doesn't mean me getting embarrassed, as long as it doesn't mean me talking to somebody I haven't talked to in a long time, as long as it doesn't mean me, giving more money or sacrificing my time or extending myself to help a friend in need, as long as ... then I will follow you. No, that's not what God asked for. God asked us to lay ourselves down, be under orders as a soldier is to his commanding officer. So what do you think the commanding officer would say to a soldier if a soldier woke up, did his PT, woke up, got in line, and they said, okay, today, here's a plan. All you need to know is that we're going to go to this fighting line and you're going to stand there and wait for the cue. What if one of the soldiers said, well, can you tell me the rest of the plan? Like, we're going to go up to this mountain, we're going to get ready for battle, but can you tell me the rest of the plan? Can you tell me the whole entire picture of where we're going to be lined up on the front line versus where the helicopters are going to coming in, where the tanks are coming in, and how the sequence of events will happen? No, the commanding officer says you show up under orders and do as I say without asking questions or conditions, saying, I will only obey if. The soldier does not say, I will only obey your orders if ... No. That is not the expectation for a soldier and a commanding officer, and that's not the expectation between us and our Father, who is our commanding officer. That might seem pretty intense to you because you're like, but I need to know the answers. I'm a control freak. I like perfection. I like to plan ahead. But that's a part of you surrendering yourself, is when you realize you have to say yes to God even when you don't know the next step. We have got to be in a mindset to say yes. We have to be disciplined enough to say yes to God even when we don't know what's around the corner. Because if it's obedient to God, then you have to trust that his plan is best for you, even if you don't have all the answers, even if it's uncomfortable, even if it's outside of your comfort zone, even if it's something that might make you a little nervous. Say yes to God and trust me, that is the best plan you could ever execute in your life, is to following in his footsteps and not your own. Okay? So guys, let's be under order today and for the rest of our lives. I love this chapter. So does Scotty.